Hi, everyone. Welcome to our podcast on diversity and inclusion in leadership. Today, we're going to dive into the importance of inclusive leadership and how it helps create a more diverse and inclusive workplace. I'm Jose, your host for this episode. Joining me are Matt, Randall, and Cameron. As usual, we would like to provide a range of opinions. So today, Matt and I will be on the pro side, highlighting the benefits of inclusion leadership, while Randall, Cameron will be discussing the criticisms and limitations. We will also try to focus and add special emphasis to the question, physical disabilities in the workplace, and whether or not it's harder to be hired if you have a physical disability. Including people with disabilities in the workplace is a big part of diversity and inclusion. It's super important for organizations to create an environment where everyone feels valued, included. That's where inclusive leadership comes in. Matt, did I miss anything?
No, I don't think so, Jose. But I would add that inclusive leadership is a newer concept that goes beyond just increasing diversity. It's about leveraging the benefits of having a diverse workforce. When we effectively manage diversity, it can actually give us a competitive advantage. It's all about integrating and supporting all employees.
Yeah, for sure, Matt. Diversity means having a bunch of different individual human beings with different backgrounds and characteristics in a group or organization. It's not about things like age, race. Sorry, it's about things like age, race, and gender, but also about differences in abilities, beliefs, education, and more. Basically, I think diversity covers all the things that make people unique and bring different perspectives to the table, regardless of visible or intangible characteristics or traits like gender, race, color, creed, ability, or disability. Randall, welcome to our podcast tonight. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Diversity is definitely important, but we also need to be aware of the potential limitations of diversity and inclusive leadership in the workplace. Sometimes it gets confused with other leadership theories, and we need more research to understand which inclusive leadership behaviors really matter.
Interesting observation, Randall. All I have to say is, folks, please, everyone sit at the table. I am glad you mentioned inclusive leadership. So, what is inclusive leadership, folks? First of all, inclusion is all about making people feel valued and included in relationships and organizations. It's a basic human need to belong and be part of something. Inclusive leadership is when leaders focus on their relationship with their followers. They actively involve them in decision making and make sure their voices are heard. Inclusion means creating an environment where everyone feels valued and can influence decisions that affect them. It's about being part of important processes without losing your identity. Inclusion strikes a balance between fitting in and staying true to yourself. It's about feeling like a valued member while still being your unique self. It's all about making sure everyone feels legitimately appreciated and made to feel part of the in club, and not part of that old out club, which is a thing in the past, should be a thing in the past. Cameron, what is your take on this? And welcome to our podcast tonight.
Yes, that is along the lines of the current definition of inclusive leadership. I think that while inclusive leadership has its strengths, we also need to acknowledge its limitations. Sometimes it gets mixed up with other leadership theories, and we need better ways to measure it. More research is needed to understand the specific behaviors that create an inclusive environment. I think to do this, we need to cover diversity and specifically diversity management. Matt, I know you came prepared to talk to us a little bit about this. Can we get a little into that?
Yeah, of course, Cameron, I sure can. Thanks for the segue to our next slide. The idea of inclusive leadership has been around for a while. Scholars have been telling leaders for some time to be ready, be ready for a more diverse workforce. Back in 1987, a report called Workforce 2000 said that organizations need to integrate and support women and people of color to stay competitive. Then in 1991, Cox and Blake emphasized the value of diversity in organizations and how it can give them a competitive advantage if managed properly. They said that everyone should be able to contribute their best and reach their full potential. After that, lots of research and practical advice came out about diversity of management. The focus was on both improving how diverse people interact and using diversity as a source of innovation. The idea was to create an environment where diversity is valued and not seen as a barrier to performance or satisfaction. But then the concept of inclusion started to become important. Inclusion means creating a workforce where everyone feels valued and can contribute their perspectives and talents. In the early 2000s, excuse me, people realized that inclusion is key to engaging a diverse workforce. It's not just about reducing discrimination and oppression, but it's also about creating a positive vision for the workplace. Today, yes, leaders have a lot on their plate. They have to navigate a global, complex marketplace, build connections between individuals and teams, and drive collaboration and innovation. In this context, inclusive leadership is crucial. Leaders need to create an environment where differences are valued and can enhance both strategies and effectiveness. So, inclusive leadership is all about recognizing the value of diversity and creating an inclusive environment where everyone can contribute and succeed.
Thanks, Matt. That was great. So, really, inclusion is a big focus in the diversity and inclusion field because it goes beyond just representation, right? So, it's about making sure everyone feels like they belong and can contribute to the organization's goals. It seems logical that inclusive leaders play a key role in fostering that sense of belonging and creating an environment where everyone feels valued and included. Randall, I know we came prepared to discuss pros and cons today, and what Matt just discussed is very important as background info. Would you add more to this in terms of how we can understand inclusion from a management perspective?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for letting me fill you guys in about the all important combination of uniqueness and belonging grid. The concept of inclusion, as discussed by Shore and colleagues, is based on the theoretical framework of optimal distinctiveness theory proposed by Brewer. According to that theory, individuals have a need for both belongingness and uniqueness. The inclusion framework proposed by Shore illustrates how different combinations of belongingness and uniqueness result in four outcomes, which are exclusion, differentiation, assimilation, and inclusion. Exclusion occurs when individuals don't feel like organizational insiders and their unique qualities aren't valued. Differentiation describes a situation where individuals feel unique and respected, but they also feel left out and not fully integrated into the group. Assimilation refers to the situation where individuals feel like insiders, but their unique characteristics are not valued by the organization. And lastly, inclusion represents the ideal outcome where individuals feel like insiders and they're encouraged to retain their uniqueness within the group. Basically, inclusion is the perception of being a valued member of a work group, which satisfies the needs for both belongingness and uniqueness. Inclusive leadership is essential for creating and maintaining inclusive environments, promoting shared identity, reducing status differences, and facilitating the participation and involvement of all members.
Thanks, guys. So far, so good, right? We got pretty in depth on chapter concepts. I think this leads to tying together into what is the inclusive leadership model. According to Randall et al., the first component is antecedent conditions, which are factors that influence the development and use inclusive behaviors by leaders. These conditions can be leader characteristics, group diversity, cognitions, and organizational policies and practices. Leader characteristics play a significant role in inclusive leadership. They propose that a leader's pro-diversity beliefs, cognitive complexity, and personality traits like agreeableness and openness to experience influence their propensity for inclusive leadership. Research by Kinnipeg, Hoffman, and Van Ninkel suggests that group diversity cognitions such as multiculturalism and climate for inclusion also play a role in fostering inclusive leadership. They found that beliefs in the value of diversity and positive diversity cognitions within the group positively influence a leader's inclination towards inclusive behaviors. Moving into inclusive leadership behaviors, according to Edmondson in 1996 and 2003, there are specific actions that leaders can take to promote inclusivity. They propose the concept of leader inclusiveness, which involves inviting input, appreciating diverse views, and including opinions and contributions of all team members. This creates psychologically safe environments and promotes inclusive leadership. Availability of leaders contribute to inclusive leadership. When leaders are physically and psychologically accessible to followers, it creates a climate of approachability and trust. So, what are then the outcomes of inclusive leadership? Choi, Tran, and Park, and Embren, and Edmison found inclusive leaderships foster psychological safety and higher levels of work engagement among team members. Inclusive leadership is also positively related to employee well-being, including positive emotional states and quality relationship with others. Also, inclusive leaderships have also shown to enhance creativity and innovation. Choi et al. In 2019 found that leaders who encourage diverse perspectives and incorporate members' knowledge and skills into groups' work inspire innovative behavior among followers. Finally, inclusive leadership has a positive impact on unit performance and group functioning, according to Hierarch et al. And Michael et al. In 2015. They found that inclusive leadership contributes to improved performance outcomes and helps teams achieve their goals. So, all right, Matt, I think before we get too much deeper into the chapter contents, why don't we lay out some of our ideas on what are the benefits of inclusion in hiring people with physical disabilities in the workplace? I believe it's such an important aspect of inclusive leadership, and I think it's worth exploring the specific benefits it brings to organizations.
Absolutely, Jose. Hiring people with physical disabilities has numerous advantages that can positively impact a company. One key benefit is that it reflects a broader social values of fairness and inclusivity. By including disabled individuals in the workplace, companies show their commitment to equal opportunities and send a powerful message about their values.
And great point, Matt. It's essential for businesses to align with societal values and demonstrate that their commitment to diversity and inclusion. Another advantage is the diverse perspectives that disabled employees bring to the table. Their unique experiences and viewpoints can lead to a more diverse set of ideas and solutions within the organization.
Yes, that's correct. Diversity of thought is incredibly valuable. When you have a team of diverse perspectives, it fosters innovation and creativity. People with physical disabilities often have to navigate the world in ways that none of us think of, which can lead to fresh insights and problem-solving approaches that benefit, the entire organization.
Let's not forget about the expanded talent pool that hiring people with physical disabilities provides. According to the CDC, estimates suggest that this affects 61 million people. That is 1 in 4 individuals of people living in the USA. Worldwide, probably more than 1 billion people are living with disabilities, and it's estimated that only 21% are employed. By including disabled individuals, companies have access to a broader pool of highly skilled talent. It is important to recognize that disability does not determine competence or ability. By tapping into this talent, companies can benefit from skills and expertise that might otherwise have been overlooked.
Absolutely. Disability should never be a barrier to employment. Everyone deserves an equal opportunity to contribute and thrive in the workplace. Companies that actively seek out disabled talent can gain a competitive edge by accessing a diverse range of skills and perspectives.
Yeah, great point, Matt. I mean, let's not forget about the compliance aspect. Hiring people with physical disabilities help organizations meet legal requirements related to equal employment opportunity and disability rights. It reduces the risk of discrimination claims and ensures that the company operates in accordance with applicable laws and regulations.
Right. Compliance with these regulations is not only a legal obligation, but it also it's a way to create a fair and inclusive environment for all employees. It's about promoting equal opportunities and ensuring that everyone, regardless of their physical abilities, has a chance to contribute and succeed.
Yeah, overall, hiring people with physical disabilities aligns with corporate social responsibility and enhances diversity and inclusion, and actually brings out numerous benefits to organizations. It's a win-win situation that contributes to a more equitable and accessible society.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Jose. Inclusive leadership involves recognizing and valuing the contribution of all individuals, regardless of their physical abilities. By embracing diversity in all forms, companies can create a stronger, more innovative, and more inclusive workplace.
All right, Cameron, let's get into some of the cons of hiring people with disabilities in the workplace. I think you mentioned some earlier, some concerns.
Yes, there are a few cons to consider. Firstly, there's the issue of liability and costs. Employing a disabled individual increases the risk of them getting injured on the job, which this could lead to liability lawsuits or workers' compensation claims. Additionally, disabled employees may need to take more frequent doctor visits, resulting in a more time away from work. Moreover, accommodating all their needs to work on site could be costly for the company as well.
Yeah, that's all pretty valid. I think another concern is the company's image. If the business has a lot of face-to-face interactions with clients, the presence of a disabled employee might affect the company's reputation, especially if those clients have prejudices against disabled individuals. They might question the company's abilities and standards, potentially damaging their reputation and client relationships.
That's right. And let's not forget about performance. It's possible that individuals with physical disabilities might take longer to complete tasks, which could lead to increased project times. This might result in other employees having to pick up the slack or even overtime pay if the disabled person or employee is hourly. This could potentially impact overall team productivity and create additional strain on other team members.
Yeah, I think another point to consider when it comes to teams is possible discrimination within teams. What I mean is some team members might be reluctant to work with physically disabled coworkers due to misconceptions about their capabilities. If team members feel like they have to do more work or pick up the slack, it could lead to lowered morale and resentment towards the disabled employee, which could negatively impact team dynamics and overall business performance.
In addition to that, the infrastructure adjustments that might be necessary. When hiring a disabled person, the company must ensure that facilities are accessible to them. While businesses are required to comply with ADA rules and regulations, each individual's needs may vary. This could involve widening doorways, renovating bathrooms, adding ramps, or making other modifications. Additionally, the disabled employee may require a caretaker, which adds another body to the working environment. This could lead to increased costs or additional traffic in the workspace.
Yeah, for sure, Cameron. These are all very important things for businesses to consider when comparing the pros and cons of diversity and inclusion in the workplace.
Right, yeah, and it's a complex issue that requires careful consideration and balancing the needs of the business with creating an inclusive work environment.
All right, guys. These are some very interesting perspectives you guys bring to the table. But what about literature and actual evidence-based research says about inclusive leadership? It has some great strengths. First, it emphasizes the involvement and engagement of everyone in the group. It recognizes that every individual has unique perspective and contributions that can enhance the overall success of the team. And inclusive leadership is also consistent with and enhances other relational leadership theories, such as transformational and servant leadership. It fosters positive relationships, trust, and collaboration within the group. Another strength of inclusive leadership is that it is a shared responsibility. It's not just up to the designated leader to create an inclusive environment. Each team member has a role in promoting inclusivity and ensuring that everyone feels valued and included. When everyone takes ownership of creating an inclusive culture, it becomes a collective effort that can have a very powerful impact.
While inclusive leadership has its strengths, it's important to acknowledge its limitations as well. One challenge is that it can be difficult to define and measure. Different contexts and individuals may require different approaches to inclusivity. Additionally, more research is needed to understand the specific behaviors and strategies that are more effective in different situations. Practical guidelines can help leaders navigate the complexities of inclusive leadership.
Even though we discussed the pros and cons today in a real general sense and got heavy on concepts, I want to circle back to one important question we have to consider. How exactly can we increase our ability to understand an issue from a perspective that's different from our own? And I think there's a few key steps that we can take. First, we can take the time to understand their background and struggles. By learning about what someone has fought through, we can gain an insight into their work ethic and ambitions. It's important to recognize that they might work at a slower pace, but that doesn't diminish the quality of their work. Next, we can try to put ourselves in other people's shoes and have some empathy. By considering what they've gone through to get where they are today, we can develop a better understanding of their experiences. How would we feel if we were in their situation? What would we want to be treated? Would we want to be treated differently? It's crucial to recognize that they are just as educated and capable as we are, regardless of any physical limitations that they may have. And lastly, we can actively listen to and understand their opinions and needs. The requests or accommodations that a disabled person might ask for are often very reasonable and necessary. Giving them a little extra time to complete tasks is warranted if they're still getting the work done. Their ideas and insights are just as valuable and may offer a fresh perspective that could benefit the project or job. I think by taking these steps, we can create a more inclusive and understanding team dynamic. Embracing different viewpoints and recognizing the value they bring to our work will allow us to tackle challenges from a more diverse range of perspectives and find innovative solutions. By working together, we can build a stronger team that embraces diversity and thrives on the insights and contributions of each member.
Inclusive leadership is a key factor in creating a diverse and inclusive workplace. It goes beyond just increasing representation to truly valuing and leveraging the benefits of diversity. It's about creating a sense of belonging and actively involving everyone in the group. While inclusive leadership has the strengths such as enhancing psychological safety and performance, and more research is needed to fully understand and implement effective inclusive leadership practices.
Yep, agreed. I mean, it's important to recap um, in our conclusion slide here that as our workforce becomes more diverse and competition heats up, it is crucial for us to embrace inclusive leadership. And why? Well, inclusive leaders create environments where different ideas, perspective, experiences are valued, and values are valued. And this leads to more creativity, innovation, and effective problem solving. The key takeaway here is that practicing inclusive leadership requires both a mindset and everyday behaviors. We need to be constantly aware of bias, discrimination, stereotypes, and exclusion in our own words and actions, as well as those of others. Um, that's the intuitive mindset. But it doesn't stop there. We need to put inclusive behaviors into practice. We should actively make sure that everyone feels like they belong, that they're treated with respect and fairness, and that they have the opportunity to fully participate. By embracing inclusive leadership, we can tap into the full potential of our diverse workforce and create a stronger, more successful team. Let's make inclusion a priority and reap the benefits of a truly inclusive and thriving workplace. Thank you, everyone. This wraps up our discussion on diversity and inclusion in leadership. We hope you found this episode informative and thought-provoking. Remember, inclusivity is a journey that requires continuous learning and improvement. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on our podcast.